Thanks so much for staying with the McAllen Cable Network. I'm Roxanne Lerma. Today back in the studio and so excited because we're bringing you a whole new type of production today. Today is our first edition of the MYAC in Action. So what is MYAC? Well, it stands for Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. And we brought in a gorgeous, talented panel to explain to us exactly what MYAC is. So Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, Rebecca Trevino, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Yuria Pais, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
And last but certainly not least, our gentleman, Adonis Cantu, thanks for being with us.
Glad to be here.
Okay guys, so folks are probably at home saying, okay, MYAC, Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, what is it? So Rebecca, what is it? Explain it to us.
Well, the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council is basically a group of students from McAllen, high school students that get together and we do community service projects and show our faces in the city, and we're basically the voice of the youth in McAllen.
Okay, so you guys kind of bring your generation to our city government.
Yes.
Okay, so Yuria, when she says community events, I mean, what are we talking about? What do you guys do to get involved?
Well, we have a lot of very interesting events that we participate in. One that I participated in the last year was the Candlelight Posada.
Okay.
It happens around December, and it was really interesting because we basically got to be a part of the parade, so we were representing our generation in the parade.
Okay, excellent. And Adonis, I mean, how important is it to be a part of something like this?
I think it's very important. I don't think that students or even the citizens know that much what's going on here as in City Hall, and to be a part of it is just a great experience to get the word out, especially for younger generations.
Okay, so I mean, do you feel like it's prestigious, Rebecca, that you guys, because it's a very select group, right? It's only 20 of you, I believe?
Yes.
Yes.
And it's the top echelon from each McAllen school. So how do you feel about being a part of it?
I mean, it's a good organization to be in, and when I tell people about it, they don't usually know what it is, but once I explain it, they're like, oh man, like how can I get in? But I'm like, well, it's a select process, and once you're in it, it's worth it.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so we kind of rounded up and got together a program. We wanted to hear from our younger generation, and so we came up with MYAC in Action. So you guys kind of did all the legwork and put together questions, but this is all based on your counterparts, to the students, what they want to know, what they want to hear about city government. So then we sent them out to do all the investigative work after we compile these questions. So Rebecca, let's start with you. Our first question is, what steps can residents take to bring attention to and reduce speeding in our neighborhoods? And we've all heard about that. So what can we do about it?
Well, there's three components when wanting to reduce speeds in our neighborhoods, and that is education, enforcement, and engineering.
Education, enforcement, and engineering, the three E's.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
So for the education component, it has to be a group effort. So it could be a simple reminder about, you can remind your family member or your friend just to slow it down in the neighborhood.
So it's something as simple as you maybe telling, not that your mom speeds or anything, but you can say, hey mom, we got to slow it down, or you might want to take your neighbor off to the right, like slow it down.
Yes.
Okay.
So in most instances, we know who the speeder is in our neighborhood, whether it be our parents, our neighbor, the person down the street, but there's always that one person.
Right.
So we just need to educate them that it's not okay to speed. We can do this by working through a homeowner neighbor association, getting neighbors together and working with them and saying, we can't be doing this, there's kids crossing, there's kids playing.
That's kind of a good start for everybody. Okay.
Or we can resort to handing out newsletters or informational flyers, and we could just stick them in their mailboxes, in their door, and it'll just be a simple reminder about what not to do when it comes to driving in the neighborhood.
And that's something that probably you guys could do, right? I mean, you could go door to door in your neighborhood and slip in a flyer just to remind them, hey, hit the brakes.
Yes.
And the city also has a traffic advisory committee that works on public education campaigns and especially targets this issue.
Okay.
So with the enforcement component, all it needs for that is maybe a patrol for a day or two just to park by the stop signs, make sure everybody's stopping, and if they don't, well, there's the following consequences.
Right, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So, I mean, you can always phone in to our McAllen Police Department and say, you know what, in my neighborhood, we kind of have a speed demon, we want to slow him down. We park a patrol car. Obviously, it's going to attract all the attention that we need. Okay,
Yes.
So then?
And the final component, which is engineering.
Okay.
This could be putting in speed limit signs saying the speed limit in the neighborhoods, which is usually 30 miles an hour. And there's also traffic calming devices.
Which you taught me about, Rebecca. I didn't know that they were called traffic calming devices.
Yes.
So what is that?
They could be things such as speed humps, speed bumps. Other things consist of traffic circles and the road narrowing, to mention a few things.
Okay.
So before any traffic calming device is installed in the residential street, the traffic department will conduct a volume and speed survey to conduct the 85th percentile speed.
Okay, so there's a process. They have to actually conduct a survey type of thing. Okay.
So here's the process. So if the 85th percentile speed is 35 miles an hour or more and there are over 300 vehicles per day, the residential street would qualify for one of the traffic calming devices.
Okay, so 85th percentile speed, 35 miles per hour, and over 300 vehicles per day that are visiting that street.
Yes.
Okay.
And the process doesn't require any neighborhood, it does require neighborhood support. So
Okay.
there could be costs associated with all of that.
Okay, and so if somebody says, you know, I think I might want a traffic calming device in my neighborhood, then who do they contact?
Well, for more information, all they have to do is call 956-681-2715 or just email traffic@McAllen.net.
Okay, excellent. Miss Rebecca, wonderful investigative work that you did for us.
Thank you.
Okay, so now Mr. Adonis, you're up next. So one of the other questions that was brought to you from your fellow students is, what plans does our great city of McAllen have to attract more tourism to our city? So what did you find?
Well, the number one thing for sure is shopping. It's got to be it.
I can understand. Can you get that?
We can all get that.
We all understand that, okay?
We've all heard or even been to the La Plaza Mall.
Right.
It's got to be number one.
Okay.
And the second one will probably be the excellent restaurants. For being so close to the border, we are exposed to many Mexican restaurants, but that's not all we have. We still have Mongolian and Japanese food. We have all kinds of cuisines that are brought down from all over the place down to here.
Yeah, we really are diverse here in the city of McAllen. We actually have over 600 restaurants. So, I mean, you can pick and choose and go eat somewhere different every day of the year if you wanted to. Okay, so what else?
Another thing is that the City Commission is trying to recruit destination retail. Which
Destination retail. Okay,
Yes.
so Adonis, explain that to me
Yeah.
because I didn't know before you told me.
Well, that's when people are sent out to bring other restaurants that we know or that we see around, maybe in commercials or social media, but they're not right here. So they're trying to recruit them to bring them down to McAllen.
Okay, so we're looking for destination retail. So maybe like that for you guys would be like perhaps an H&M or one of those kind of stores that
Yes.
we'd like to see here,
Yes.
but isn't in South Texas yet. Okay.
Exactly. Another thing is, since the bond election in November funded new youth baseball and softball fields to attract tournaments and to attract the tourists that come with it.
Right, and I told you about this one,
Yes.
that I have a 9-year-old and he's actually in the All-Stars. So if you were to set up a new softball, baseball field for me, I mean, I would be out there and I'm going to drag all my family. So
Yeah.
obviously you're going to bring in more tourism.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
The other thing is all the festivals and events that we have around the year, like the New Year's Bash. That's huge. We have the largest 4th of July parade here.
And that's actually coming up right around the corner,
Yes.
and you're right.
Yeah.
We have the biggest and we have the best in McAllen. It gets bigger and better every year, bigger floats, more schools participate. We've got the bands and the horses, I mean the whole hoopla.
Yeah. Another thing is that it's a trend that's been going on for a while is people bringing down DJs to come here at South Texas, especially in McAllen now.
Right.
And that's been happening lately, and that has been also attracting a lot of tourism.
I heard that it attracted Miss Yuria, right? Okay, so tell us some of the names that have come.
Well, recently DJ Alesso,
Yes.
he was really good. And
Which is
DJ
apparently
Glenn.
big with your generation, right?
Yes,
Okay.
right now, yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, what else?
The last thing is there are now current plans to hopefully bring more tourism and more events when it comes to the holiday season, more specifically Christmas
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, which is, I think that the McAllen Convention Center and our city commission, city leaders have been working really hard, really diligently to bring a lot more attractions during that time. So I'm sure if you guys saw, let's just say, a gorgeous Christmas light display at the convention center or whatever, that's obviously going to stir our tourism. Okay, wonderful. Mr. Adonis, is that the last tourist attraction?
Yes,
Okay.
right now.
Okay, so now we're going to Miss Yuria, who likes our DJs here in South Texas. Okay, so your question was, are additional bike lanes planned around the city of McAllen? So what did you find for your fellow students in reference to that?
Yes, well, there are actually really interesting plans to help our local bicycle enthusiast, and the City Commission has developed a bicycle plan that will basically help enlarge already existing lanes and add in new ones.
And you actually requested a map, so that is up
Yes.
on our screen as per Miss Yudia, okay?
Yes, well, the bicycle plan was developed by the Traffic Department, but it was recommended by the Traffic Advisory Board, and it was now approved by the Commission, by the City Commission.
Okay, Miss Rebecca, our next question. Where will events such as dance recitals and concerts be held after our Civic Center closes its doors, but before we actually complete our awesome, wonderful performing arts center over by the Convention Center? So what did you find there?
Well, for the time being, the city will continue to bring events to the Civic Center as well as the events that have been presented to the auditorium.
Okay.
And additional equipment is being added to the Convention Center which will accommodate these performances such as theatrical draping, rigging, lighting, and sound.
So we're not gonna lose these events, so to speak. We're just gonna, move it over and then fixing up the Convention Center so that we can bring all those recitals in. And, okay, so that's great news,
Yes.
especially for your generation. And our next question goes back to Mr. Adonis. Okay, so this is a big one. I know that you guys were interested in conservation and being greener and recycling. So one of the questions was, because grocery store bags usually aren't recycled, can the city do something to eliminate the use of those plastic bags? So you actually found some pretty interesting tidbits about that.
Yes. There is an important push to eliminate plastic bags, for sure.
Okay.
And since we were in elementary, we've always been told that recycling is very important, and
Right.
that's true. So now we have stores like Walmart and H-E-B and Target that are now providing receptacles for recycling bags.
Right, and see, I didn't know. Did you all know that?
No.
Honestly, because I'm going to totally admit to this. I have a drawer with a wad of plastic bags that I do reuse them, but I didn't know that we could go out and recycle them. So Walmart, Target, H-E-B, and so that's important for our residents and
Very
students
important.
as well.
Another thing would be the McAllen Recycling Center. It also accepts grocery bags. They're open from Monday through Friday from 8 to 4:30 p.m.
Okay,
and on Saturdays from 8 to 12 p.m.
Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30,
Yes.
and then Saturdays from 8 to 12. So there's plenty of time to get over there and recycle.
Another thing is that the city began measures to reduce the use of plastic bags back in 2012 with the Bag It program.
Okay, so what is the Bag It program?
The Bag It program is when compostable bags are provided to the residents to dispose of grass clippings and leaves. If you want to learn more about this, the number that they have is 956-681-4000.
Right, and these bags have actually in turn become part of the process in our creating our very own compost here in the city of McAllen. So using these bags has actually reduced the yard waste that, we don't have to take it out to the Edinburgh landfill anymore, so we just continue to recycle, and so that helps us here in the city of McAllen.
Yes.
And if you want to get a compostable bag, where do you go for that? Well, they're available, and I got this from Adonis,
Yes.
so I'm just sharing the information that he gave me. At the 3 McAllen libraries, which is Lark, Palmview, and our main, at Public Works, at City Hall, or of course at the compost facility, and you can always call 681-4000 for more information on that Bag It program. So that's really interesting. I mean, that we didn't know that you could recycle the grocery bags and stuff, so that was really interesting for us.
You're very welcome.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Albanese. Rebecca, another big one. This is interest to residents, also interest to students here in McAllen. What is the process if you want to request, let's just say, an additional street light in your neighborhood? If it's a little dark or it's flickering or something, where do you go for that?
Well, this process is actually really simple.
Okay.
All the residents have to do is call 681-3111 or 681-2715,
Okay.
or they can email traffic@mcallen.net.
Which we've already seen that number before, the 681-2715, or back to the traffic@mcallen.net. So jot that down, folks, so that you know it.
Yes.
Okay.
So once that request is put in, the staff will check for several items.
Okay.
So the first item is the proposed streetlight must be at least 350 feet from an existing residential streetlight.
Okay, so it's got to be a distance away. Okay.
The second item is typically the streetlight should benefit 3 or more homes.
So it can't just benefit my home, right? I
No.
can't be like, I want a street light. No, it needs to be at least 3 or more residences that need it.
Yes.
Okay.
And the third item is, of course, the resident should live on the street.
That always helps.
Yes.
Okay.
So if the staff finds that the light is warranted, a request will be made to have a light installed.
Okay.
One other important factor that there needs to be is a direct source of electrical power at the proposed location.
Okay, so there already has to be electricity there where you're requesting this.
Yes.
Okay, so if I wanted to get a street light, and or maybe my neighbor does, can I just say, hey, you know what, I want a street light, can you come and do it now, or how is it based?
Well, usually it is that way because they're installed on a first come, first served basis.
Okay.
And if there's funding available.
Okay, so that's a big one.
Yes, so if there's no funding available immediately, then the request will be placed on a list for the following budget cycle.
So it doesn't eliminate your chances altogether if you don't get that street light right then and there, you can be put on for the next cycle.
Yes, right.
Okay.
And now speaking of lights, I also looked into what you can do if a street light is out in your neighborhood.
I like how Miss Rebecca does extra homework for us. You see, we got a question about a question. So, okay, what did you find out about if the street light's out?
So when you want to report a street light malfunction, for example, if it doesn't turn on at night, if it's flickering, if it doesn't stay on,
okay,
you may contact 956-681-3111.
Okay, so again, the 681-3111 for our residents.
Yes, and all you have to do is be prepared to provide the location, the type of malfunction, and the pole number, which is typically a 5-digit number.
Okay.
And for the AEP customers, the pole number is located at eye level height.
For AEP customers, minus Yuria and Roxanne Lerma, because we're going to be looking up together. Okay, so we're looking for a 5-digit number. Okay.
And just a little reminder, the City of McAllen does not directly maintain nor repair the streetlights.
Okay.
So the city forwards all requests to the streetlight repairs to the appropriate electricity provider.
All right, so they don't do it directly.
Yes. So if you wish to report the malfunction directly to the company, the contact information is on your screen.
Okay, so if it's AEP, we see the number there. It's 1-866-223-8508, or you can visit aeptexas.com. Where do we go if it's Magic Valley?
You call 1-866-225-5683, or you can call 956-289-4000. And for that, you'll need a meter number and or account number.
Okay.
Yes.
And anything else that you can do?
Well, one last tip, if you really want to make your life easy on yourself, you have to make sure to install the new 311 app on your smartphone.
Which I know you guys already have it, right?
Yes.
And it's very user-friendly. Okay, so what do you do with that?
Basically, you can report things like malfunctioning streetlights or potholes in the road, and all you have to do is take a picture and it automatically tracks your location, so you just send it with a little comment and it's sent.
Excellent. Okay, so speaking of that 311 app, we actually wanted to find out a little bit more about how user-friendly it is, how does it work, and so guess what we did? Well, we put our Mayor Pro Tem and City Commissioner Hilda Salinas to work. She's actually out at our 311 center to find out exactly how this all works. How does it work for you, our residents, and how does it work for our students? So, Miss Hilda, out to you in the 311 center.
Thank you, Roxanne. And yes, I am at the McAllen 311 Center. I have with me Neo Canales, who I will direct some questions to so that we can get that information that our students are requesting. Neo, hi, how are you?
Well, so far we're doing really well.
Great. I've got a few questions. I have some students that have asked questions about the 311 Center. They'd like to know a bit of information regarding how a call is processed when it comes in and how I guess, request is processed when it comes in on the mobile app. So can you help us with that?
Well, entirely, yes. As a matter of fact, what happens is that we take a phone call, and it's easier to use one of these so we can use a computer at the same time. When the call comes in, this is our public stuff software. It is a wonderful software. We're able to ask the questions. Let's say, hey, my street light is out. Say, okay, tell us where it is. Give us the closest address, the closest intersection. Because we have two companies that are under contract with the City of McAllen to fix streetlights. They have different sections of town. Depending upon where it is, we get hold of that company and we say, hey, go fix it. And within a week or so, they do. And it's done by registering what's happening here with the name, address, the phone number, all the particulars, and then maybe even an email to someone who might need it. And then it's in the works.
Perfect. Awesome. Now, can you tell us a little bit about how the mobile app works if a request comes in via our mobile app on the smartphones now?
Okay, now that happens every single day. Of course, you can send in information on the mobile app as well. And what happens is that comes in email. So what I do is we just check email all day long and see has something come in for public stuff. And it happens all the time. And there it is. This form already filled out by the person who sent the information in. And then it's a lot faster. We copy the information, get it sent to let's say in the case of the street light, one of those two companies, or any other of our departments here in town who need the information to get out there, solve the problem, fix it, get us on down the road.
Great, thank you. Well, obviously, McAllen 311 is extremely busy. We absolutely thank our students for asking the questions and having us bring this information out to the public. And before I go back to Roxanne, I do want to thank all the students that participated in the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, and especially to Adonis, to Rebecca, and to Yuria for having stuck it out and spent part of your summer bringing the answers to the students' questions out to our community. Thank you very much for all your service. Roxanne, right back to you.
And that was our Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioner Hilda Salinas. Thank you so much. We were putting her out to work. She decided to be our roving reporter, and darn, she did a great job for us, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
Okay, and so continuing with our MYAC in Action edition here, we have one final question of the day, and that's coming to us again directly from the kids, the students that you guys go to school with. And this is a big one for them and probably all the athletic fans here in South Texas. So, Miss Yuria, what is the status of the plans to improve our wonderful, gorgeous high school football stadium here in McAllen? So we've heard a lot about it. What did you find?
Well, Roxanne, there's actually really big and interesting plans for renovations at the Veterans Memorial Stadium.
Okay.
This is a $5 million project. So this project would include overhauling the size of the stadium's press box, upgrading the locker rooms, and installing an elevator to comply with the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA.
So addressing these improvements is kind of like really the pressing issue behind all the improvements at the stadium, which is really important for us.
It is, it is. And that means that there will be a complete renovation and expansion of the restrooms. So that's a definite bonus.
I guess it is.
And the school district has hired an architect to work on the design of the improvements and develop a plan for the city and district that addresses the priority of the work to be completed.
Okay.
And there are also plans to increase the lighting levels of the field. So
with that, yeah, we give that 2 thumbs up for somebody that's an athlete like you. I mean, how much of a difference is that going to make?
A lot.
It's
a big
huge.
difference. It's nice to be able to see.
And by the same token, Adonis, like, since we're doing the improvements here at the stadium, I mean, don't you agree that it would probably also perk up our tourism?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, you're going to be able to cater to a lot more big events.
Yes.
Okay.
These improvements will hopefully allow the city to host other big events such as college football, professional soccer, and big concerts, as Adonis had mentioned before.
Adonis and the DJs, right? And we were actually talking about this yesterday. We are going to be catering to all our soccer fans with the FIFA World Cup coming. The McAllen Convention Center was one of very few select places in the nation, and they're going to broadcast like 54 games on this huge 18 by 12 LED screen. So if we're going to get that many people out to the McAllen Convention Center, imagine if we actually had a professional game playing there at the McAllen Stadium. I mean, you know it's going to be a big draw.
Tourism would be drawn.
Yes, it would.
Renovating the stadium will not require any new taxes. The City Commission has promised $3 million from McAllen sales tax, and the school board has pledged an additional $2 million from property taxes.
So no new taxes. I mean, that's, yeah, I'm sure that your parents were also like, okay, extra lighting and no new taxes. It's all good. Okay, so that was our last question. Thank you all so much for being a part of this. I mean, it takes a lot of work to gather all the information. You guys had to first, you know, figure out what questions your counterparts wanted to know, what did the students want to hear, and I think it's really important. We learned, you know, about streetlights, and we learned about our new football stadium. There's just a lot of things that are going on in the city that matter not only to your generation, but probably to all of our McAllen residents, I'm sure. So thank you, Adonis Cantu, for helping us out and getting those answers for us.
Thank you.
Yuria Pais, Rebecca Trevino, thank you
you
so much for being with us. And thank you at home for joining us for our very first edition of MYAC in Action. We hope that there's more to come. For the City of McAllen, I'm Roxanne Lerma.